Okay, so welcome to today's webinar. My name is Hazel and I'm a course advisor here at the University of Manchester. And today, myself and my colleague Lisa are going to be talking to you about why we think you should choose the University of Manchester for your part-time online and blended learning study. So in today's session, we're going to talk a bit more about why we think you should choose the University of Manchester, give a bit more information about the university and its academics and how that will help your study. And then we're going to go into a little bit more about what online and blended learning is. And then we'll carry on and talk about the benefits of online and blended learning. We'll then move on to things you can do to start preparing for your studies and information about how to apply and the next steps. Throughout today's session, we have got the question and answer function available in Zoom. So if you've got anything that you want to ask based on anything that we've talked about, then please do put that in the question and answer box. And we'll come to it at the end of the session when we have time for questions and answers. During today's session as well, we have got a couple of polls available for you to get a bit more involved. So please, when those pop up, do answer the questions and let us know a little bit more about yourselves. So before we get started, I'm just going to introduce myself. My name's Hazel Craven. I'm a course advisor here at the University of Manchester. And that means that I'm here to help support and advise students who are considering online part-time and blended learning study. So I can do that in a number of ways, through emails, which you can see our email address at the bottom of the slides today, and also through telephone and Zoom consultations. And I'm part of a team of course advisors, and we all look after a few different courses. I'm now going to hand over to my colleague Lisa to let her introduce herself as well.
Lovely, thanks Hazel. Yes, just to mirror what Hazel said, thanks for joining us today. We do really want to provide you with as much information as possible so you can make an informed decision in regards to continuing your studies with the University of Manchester. So we've got lots of good information to cover today for you. But as Hazel said, if you've got any questions at all, please just use the Q&A function and we'll have a bit of a session at the end of today's webinar. So just firstly, so why study at the University of Manchester? Well, there's many reasons why students join the University of Manchester every year. We score high in the academic rankings, as you can see just on the presentation. So we're currently 5th in the UK, 9th in Europe and 27th in the world. Another aspect that's really important to us, we're a leading research intensive university. So anything from sort of tackling cancer to finding energy solutions of the future, our research is really making a difference. And with 83% of our research activity judged to be world leading or internationally excellent, it's important for us and our students that we continue that. As you can see, we've had 25 Nobel Prize winners who've worked or studied here, and we have a rich heritage, established in sort of 1824, which again is really unique. It's something that really does set us apart from other institutions. Another amazing accolade that we've recently achieved, the university topped the table of more than 1,200 universities from around the world on action taken towards the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So as you can just see on the presentation today, we're the world's top institution for social and environmental impact, and that was only this year, so everyone at the university is extremely proud of that achievement. We have invested lots of money as well recently in the flexible blended learning. We want to make sure it's accessible, inclusive and international, which again is something we will cover further on in today's webinar. And also 5 dual award PhD programs with global strategic partnerships as well. So, again, that research element is extremely important to everyone at the university. And I think Hazel does touch on that as well, just further along in today's presentation.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. And thanks, Lisa, for that great introduction. So I'm just going to talk to you a little bit more about our academics. So as Lisa was saying, a lot of our research has a global impact, and that really covers a wide range of areas. It includes healthcare, climate change, international trade, and cohesive communities. So how does that benefit you? Well, you will be learning from world-leading researchers, and you'll get to benefit from their knowledge during your studies. Many of these academics are top professionals in their area and have really contributed towards the wider goals of their industries. So, for example, if you were studying the Analytical Chemistry and Measurement Science programme, some of the academics you'd be learning from recently won the Royal Society of Chemistry's Horizon Prize for Analytical Chemistry for the project The Nose to Diagnose. And that is where they've been using analytical chemistry techniques to diagnose Parkinson's disease off the basis of a change in someone's smell. That's now impacting future research, and they're now looking to roll that out to other diseases as well to see if they can gain an earlier diagnosis. You'd be learning from these academics and really learning these techniques from them as they're building up and developing them further. Again, and linking back to our sustainability research and work, academics in the Department of Materials who teach on our International Fashion Marketing course, one of their leading areas of research is to improve sustainability in fashion. And that's one of the key topics and the key themes that you're learning throughout your studies. And that doesn't just stop at those two courses. We could have carried on all day with examples of some of the amazing work that our academics are doing. And if you're interested in a particular course, then we would encourage you to take a look at your course pages and take a look at who your program directors are. You can actually find out more information about the types of research that they're doing through the University of Manchester's websites. So we're now going to talk a little bit more about what online and blended learning is. So for us, online and blended learning is about flexible learning designed for you. It's built around flexibility, so our courses allow you to plan your own learning at time and place that suits you. And one of the great things is there's no such thing as the typical online learning student. We have such a wide variety of students on our courses and with very, very varied circumstances. And people really are based all around the world. The other great thing about online and blended learning is that it gives you the chance to interact with your course peers and arrange individual consultations with course academics. Studying online doesn't mean you're studying alone, and we use our online technologies to basically give you that global network and that feeling of community and being part of the University of Manchester all around the world. So in terms of the types of qualification you can study on an online and blended learning course, many of our courses do offer different entry routes. That can include master's degrees, postgraduate diplomas, postgraduate certificates, and individual modules as part of continuing professional development, or CPD. In as little as 10 weeks, you can achieve an academic qualification to complement your professional experience. And we have a dedicated team of people to support and advise you right from your initial inquiry, where you might be talking to someone such as myself or Lisa, or even Daisy and Jess, who are our other course advisors, right through until you graduate. Because when you start that course, the study support doesn't end, and you do get a dedicated study support advisor. So one of the questions we do get asked a lot is, what is the difference between online and blended learning? Well, online learning is exactly that. It's video tutorials, it's learning materials that are released through our virtual learning environment, Blackboard, and it's things like discussion forums with your peers. So online learning, there is no requirement for you to be in Manchester. There's no requirement for you to even be in the same time zone. You access all your materials online, meaning that you can stop and start as it suits you and return back and revisit your modules as well. Whereas blended learning is considered to be a mixture of both online and face-to-face learning. So on our blended learning courses, the majority of your teaching will still be online. You'll still be doing the video tutorials, you'll still be using Blackboard to access most of your learning materials, and you'll still have access to all of those discussion forums too. But with blended learning, there's also the option to consolidate your learning in face-to-face workshops and you get that opportunity to meet with your peers and your academics. So for example, some of our courses, such as international fashion marketing, real estate, educational leadership for practice, have face-to-face workshops that typically last for a few days, a couple of times a year. And in those cases, you would come to Manchester or another one of our international centres, and you would learn with a Manchester academic and take part in workshops and talks to basically build on what you've been covering in your lectures. There's also group masterclasses available, and I'm going to bring Lisa in now to talk a little bit more about that too.
Thanks, Hazel. Yeah, just to again mirror what Hazel said, there is no such thing as a sort of a typical online learner anymore. So, you know, some students, when they join us, they just want to study online. You know, that's what they're looking for. They're not looking for, you know, to come to campus. You know, they just want to do the online tutorials as and when they can. Whereas some students, you know, that blended element is really important to them. So that aspect to offer, you know, some online studies is fantastic, but they also do want the opportunity to maybe come to site to meet the academic team. So as I said, it's really important that you, when you're considering studying with us, you do look at that when you're looking at the course, your course of interest. And if again, you know, there's anything you're unsure of in regards to the description, or you know, you want to talk through that, again, that's what we're here to do, is just to support you with that and provide you as much information as possible so you can make an informed decision about your next steps. Okie dokie, so we're going to look at now the benefits of online and blended learning. So most of our students are in full-time work, and if they're not working, they have other commitments. So the flexible offering of an online course, it is really important to our students, and that's got to fit around your lifestyle and circumstances. We absolutely understand that. You know, when you're working full time, you come home, you've got your other responsibilities, you've really got to have flexibility to allow you to book some time in to do your studies. And now feedback from, you know, many of our students is some of them will, you know, look at trying to do some work first thing in the morning before their day begins. Some will schedule some time in the evening to go through everything. Others will book some time at the weekends. Whatever suits you. The general feedback we get is that it's quite challenging to start with, but once you've got that flow and your course becomes part of your day-to-day routine, you know, it does get easier. So once you get in that pattern of study, you know, you should find that things move along nicely and you get traction with that. So it's just to let you know, if you do join us and you feel it a little bit overwhelming to start with, you're not alone with that. Very, very common. It's a big commitment, but once you do, as they get that in your day-to-day routine, the flexibility of the course will be extremely important to you. As I said, you can work and study at the same time, so there's no requirement to sort of take a career break. You don't have to go and ask your employer to take some time out. You know, as I said, you can be working and studying at the same time. Key that we always want to talk to our students about is it's all about your continued professional development. This doesn't mean you're necessarily going to change jobs. It could be that you're wanting to gain new skills, to even to just progress internally. Maybe you do want to go and work in a different industry. It's completely up to you, but your continued professional development is what this course is all about. And again, we're here to support you with that. There's loads of content available online that we've produced with the actual course directors, where they can talk you through how that will benefit you. Again, learn at a time and a place that suits you. I think we've kind of covered that already with regards to the flexibility of the courses. And another really key point for our students is we do talk about the benefits of online learning is that you have access to a global network, and that is so true for our students. It's all about growing your professional network. You are joining a global community of students. It's a fantastic opportunity to gain new perspectives on topics from those in different countries. It's great to learn new practices, so it's very important for our students that they have access to that networking opportunity. And again, just to note, our students are extremely important to us. We work very closely with them. We often develop really good relations with them, and then they'll go on to potentially join our brand ambassador scheme. So they want to represent the university, they want to give their voice, how they found the course, and we know that's equally important for those who are considering studying. You want to know who's gone before you, how they found it, what was their feedback, what job did they do, are they in a similar situation to you, could it be someone you could then network with? So we do understand again that it's important that we work with students and that you all work together as well. Just to as well back that up, we have got some fantastic student testimonials and that have been provided across all of our courses. So if there's a course of interest to you and you want to read a little bit more about, maybe we've got some student stories available for you to have a look through, just contact us on the email address that's at the bottom of the slide there, which is studyonline@manchester.ac.uk. And as I said, you know, we can send those over to you so you can have a read through for yourself. And there's just some more there. Just as well, what's really important to reiterate, I know Hazel mentioned it before, studying online does not mean you're studying alone. It's very true in terms of the network you'll build, but also when you do join the University of Manchester as an online student, you are no different to our on-campus students. So you'll have access to the same facilities and resources, some of the key services we have available. So you've got the library services, you've got the personalised support, there's technical support available for you, there's the award-winning My Learning Essentials, even down to things like a student card. You know, it's important for students. You're a student of the University of Manchester, you know, you want to, you know, get some discounts, so your student card will open the door to things like that for you as well, which again is important. So it's good to remember that even though you are an online student, you have the you know, access to the same facilities as our on-campus students. And another point that's really important as well that you do have is our wellbeing services. Now, I personally, Hazel, I don't know about you, but do not take advantage of enough of this. This is available for staff and students, but also, you know, for your family members as well, friends and family. So you'll have access to our wellbeing services, which again is a fantastic a place to go and have a read through. Some great information on you know, your mental well-being, your health, managing money, anything like that. It's all available to you, and as I said, that's when you join us online, you're going to have access to that as well.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And it's such an important thing to highlight as well. I think everyone's well-being is a really important thing to kind of focus on and certainly not forget. The other thing that we possibly should have just touched on when we were talking about online and blended learning is just to highlight that these blended learning workshops, obviously we understand that there's been a lot of travel restrictions, and where travel restrictions have prevented our blended learning students from actually traveling to one of our centres where they can take part in these workshops. We have been able to offer online alternatives as well. So it's perhaps a bit of a mixture at the moment between students joining us online for our workshops and our sort of more face-to-face and interactive live sessions. Along with those people who are fortunate enough to be able to travel owing to their personal circumstances and travel restrictions around where they're based and where they're travelling to. So the next thing we're going to talk about is what happens next. So perhaps what we've said today, you think, great, I know exactly which course I want to apply for. I think I'm ready to apply. What do I do to prepare myself for my studies and get ready to take those next steps? So the first thing we would always say is check out our dedicated course web pages, which include the key information about things about your course. You've got recommended study time on there. Usually our online part-time courses are about 15 to 20 hours per week, depending on which program it is and which option you're taking when you're studying. And that is published, and it does vary per course. Of course, it is a big time commitment, but also, as we've said before, a lot of our students are doing this whilst working full time, and we do feel like this is a manageable amount of time, so long as you plan your time effectively. It's also got things such as the course duration, so the length of time that you're going to be studying and how long that is depending on which option you choose for your courses. As we mentioned before, you've got things like the Masters, the Postgraduate Diploma, the Postgraduate Certificate, or even just the individual modules in the continuing professional development. It's also got the information about our course fees, and an important thing to highlight as well with our course fees is that there is the option to pay by instalments. So it's not a case of you having to find the full course fee to pay upfront before you start studying the programme. And on our course web pages too, we do have the entry requirements, and I cannot recommend this enough, and Lisa, I'm sure you're exactly the same with this. Do make sure you check those carefully. we really want you to succeed on this course, and these entry requirements are really, really carefully set to ensure that you're going to be in the best position to succeed. So do check them out and check that you're eligible. And if you're not sure and you do have any questions, then you can get in touch with us using the email address at the bottom of the slide, studyonline@manchester.ac.uk. And on our web pages as well, you'll have more information about the supporting documentation that we would need from you to submit an application. So how does the application process work? Well, as we've already said, head to the course page, and on our course pages, you should have an Apply Now button. So you'll need to fill in an application form, and alongside that, you'll need to pay close attention to the supporting documents that you might need to include. So that can include a degree certificate and transcript. And if that's not in English, then you would need to just make sure that that's translated into English as well. And many of our courses do ask for a personal statement and a CV. And these places are an opportunity for you to highlight your professional experience, any relevant modules that you might have studied before, any relevant projects that you're working on in your day-to-day work or previous studies. The personal statement's also a really great opportunity for us to get to know you a little bit better and to find out more about why you think this course is for you and why you think studying this will benefit you. We also just need the contact details of 1 to 2 referees so that they could be contacted to provide a reference to support your study with us. And if English language isn't your first language, then you may need to provide proof of your English language ability. And information about that and the specific levels that we require is available on each individual course page. So once you've got all of that together, you'll submit your application, and that's reviewed by our admissions team. And so we really encourage you to keep an eye out once you've applied in your emails, as our admissions team will be in touch with you if they require any more information from you, or if you're lucky enough to get an offer as well, with an offer letter and information about those next steps. But myself and Lisa and our colleagues Daisy and Jess are also always here to help support you through this application process. So please don't feel like this is something you have to do alone. And if you do want advice or guidance, then you can get in touch with us as well.
Yeah, just to jump in there as well, Hazel, just to say, please do, take some time to look at your course webpage, because it is really important that you gather that documentation. It will inevitably speed up the application process for you. It will save a lot of back and forth with the team. So please do just, make sure you have a look at the required documentation, and then, as I said, just gather all of that before you begin your application. And if you do want to send anything over to us to have a look through, then please do so. So we want to make sure the course is suitable for you as well, and to support you with that. So just send everything through to the Study Online email address. As you can see just on the current slide, we have a list there of the current online and blended courses available within our portfolio. There's a lot of choice there, as you can see. It's very varied, which is fantastic. It means we have a very diverse cohort of students. So as I said, please do take some time to have a look through that. And then, as I said, you can see there's a website at the bottom of the email there, and that gives you access to search for the full range of courses available as well. So now we'll go on to an audience Q&A. I can see we've had a few questions coming through. Let's see what we've got then, Hazel. Okie dokie. So we've had one. Again, we do get asked this quite a lot, because I think we offer online courses. People sometimes think that you can just start whenever you like. So I've had a question that's come through. So can I apply and begin my studies at any time? I don't mind taking this one, Hazel, if that's all right.
Yeah, no, that's fine. You can go through it.
Again, I'm sure you'll have lots of good information to contribute as well. But just to know, with the courses, we do have set intakes for each of our courses, and these do vary. Again, some courses have multiple intakes, some it's just once a year. But again, all of this information is going to be on the dedicated course webpage. The reason we do have set intake dates is because the courses, you know, there's a structure to them. You've got units to cover at certain points in the year. But again, to support you through that, you have access to a dedicated study advisor. So again, they'll work with you to make sure you're progressing along the required units. And if you do, for any reason, you know, need to take a study break for any, you know, circumstances, then they'll support you with that. So we have the set times that you would join us, you know, for each intake, and then you'll have your set learning material as well that you can complete in sections. So as I said, each course web page outlines when the next intake is and how many we'll have, and it does vary, so that's really important to factor that in as well when you are considering studying with us, is that time element. You know, is it a good time of the year for you? Have you got time to commit to this? And I said, just double check if there's multiple intakes or if it is just the one intake.
Yeah, and just to add to that, really, to help with the time management as well, most of our courses do have induction weeks too. So they will include some more information about navigating through online and learning platforms as well. So that is often a really useful thing as well. And just because we can't run those online learning weeks every week of the year if we have people starting the courses at all times, that's just another reason, another thing just to keep in mind too, and that's usually the week before your course starts. We've actually had a couple of questions submitted as well here. So yeah. The first question we've got is how long after submitting an application does it take the admissions team to let us know how that's going?
Well, again, I think that sort of links back nicely to what we mentioned earlier, just in regards to documentation. So when you do, you know, when you are looking at joining one of our courses, please do make sure, first of all, you've gathered all of the stipulated documentation, because that will firstly help speed up the process. Our admissions team will be in contact with you as well if they do require any additional information from you. So, you know, they'll reach out to you direct to request that. In terms of timescales, I mean, we would typically look at trying to come back to you within at least 4 weeks. Unfortunately, certain times of the year are very busy. So we recently had a September intake, which might have taken a little bit longer to go back to some students. But usually you would see we would come back to you within 4 weeks.
Yeah, and I guess the other thing to kind of keep in mind is that just because you've submitted your application doesn't mean that we're not here to help and support you. And if you are concerned or you're worried about anything, then you can get in touch with us too, and we'll absolutely be here to help answer any questions that you have and support you whilst you're waiting for that decision on your application from our admissions team.
Hazel, we've had another question as well, which has come through on the chat, and that's just, do scholarships usually apply to part-time online masters programs as well?
Yes, so some of our courses do offer scholarships, and there is a dedicated fees and funding page as well, where you can see information about how to fund your master's study on the University of Manchester website. So in just a second, I will bring that up and pop that in the chat for you so that you are able to see it. So there is scholarships for some programs, and there may be bursaries and things you can apply for, but some of our students, for example, talk to their employers and see if they're able to help fund their studies as well. So I will just bring up that and put that in the chat for you before the end of the webinar so that you can refer to that as well, because it does vary course by course.
Hazel, I don't know about you as well, but I'm asked quite a lot by some of my students, what's the biggest benefit to studying online compared to an on-campus course? And I know we sort of did touch on this earlier, but I know we talked about it as well, so you're saying that you get very similar questions to me with that. So in your opinion, what do you think is, you know, is there anything different that we haven't covered today?
I think for me, like the biggest thing and the thing that I think is great about our online learning courses is that you have the opportunity to be gaining your professional experience at the same time as studying, and you can apply that learning that you're getting from your studies immediately into the workplace. You don't need to wait, which I think is just a really, really positive and beneficial thing about the courses. And at the same time, you're speaking to, and the other students on the course, they're from all around the world, and they're working in similar industries, or they want to work in a similar industry to you, and everyone's very similar in their interests. But the challenges country to country, particularly on our healthcare courses, can really vary, and it really gives you a really, really broad understanding of the course, and of the subject area as a whole. So I think those to me are the biggest benefits that I can think of. What about you, Lisa?
Yeah, really similar. I think definitely, I know when we've spoken with some of our students who are just graduated, they always just come back and say it is that flexibility. It's been allowed to study at a pace and time that really does suit me, because I said, people have commitments. It's a big choice going back to education, especially in taking any of the qualifications that we're offering, and I think students always just say it is that flexibility that's really, really important to them. But also it's also the ongoing support that you receive. So again, it's the whole, like you said earlier, studying online does not mean that you're studying alone. You do have access to start with to us to support you with your decision making, but then obviously once you join the course, you'll be networking with course peers, you'll be able to speak to the academics. It's a fantastic opportunity to really meet people within and grow your network. So I know that the flexibility definitely is obviously key, which actually links quite nicely to a question that's just come through, and it's just that, are there any live tutorials for online students? And again, it's not exactly the same for every course, but typically what you would find is that lectures are recorded and available to watch back, and that's why it's up to you when you can fit that into your diary to go through them. So I said they'll be recorded, they're on our virtual learning environment, and then you can watch them back, whether it's when you've finished work or it's at the weekend, whenever you decide to fit that into your day-to-day routine. And that's, again, where that flexibility comes into it.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you say, it does vary course by course. So if you're not sure at all, we recommend just getting in touch with us and double checking, and we'll be able to advise you further. But the idea is for everything to be flexible and easy for you to manage alongside your studies, which is why we record them, is to make sure that if for whatever reason you can't attend live, there is that option there for you to make sure you're not missing out on any key information. And even if you can't attend a live tutorial, you will be able to get in touch with the academic who is covering that session. And if you do have questions after you've reviewed it, just because you've not been available at a live session doesn't mean that they're not there to support and guide and help you. So really just to highlight that as well, I guess. And the other question, which is something we do get asked a lot, actually,
we do
is will my degree certificate say online on it? And the answer to that is no, it won't.
No.
Very simple answer there. No, it won't. It will have your degree title on it, just as it would if you'd studied on campus. It doesn't at any place on the degree certificate have the mode of study on there.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we've got one more question that's just come through, which is, can online and blended students benefit from the post-study work experience?
Oh, I'm not sure on that. I think I need a bit more information to actually advise further. Can the person who posted that question maybe just email through a little bit more information to studyonline@manchester.ac.uk, and then we can have a look at your circumstance and come back to you if that's okay.
Yeah, no, I think that's probably the best, because these sort of things will vary depending on personal circumstances.
Absolutely.
So if you get in touch with us and also explain which course you're interested in, and then we can give you some more relevant information and make sure we're giving you the right information too.
Absolutely.
And another question that's just popped in here is, will I be invited to a Manchester graduation?
Again, I'll have to double check, just because with the sort of times as they are at the moment, it's obviously changing quite frequently with what events we have on campus and what we don't. So we can certainly double check that for you. Again, just the anonymous attendee, if you could please just email us again to studyonline@manchester.ac.uk and just put in the subject your question. We'll be able to come back to you with some more information. But again, at the moment, it's very difficult to say, with time sort of changing as frequently as they are. I wouldn't want to say definitely, because unfortunately I don't know what the next couple of months would hold.
Yeah, it's a little bit difficult at the moment with kind of with the COVID restrictions changing, because unfortunately our graduation ceremonies did have to move online and have been online for the past few iterations. So it's something we'd have to look into, and particularly kind of, we know what course you're interested in as well, and knowing when that sort of perceived graduation date is likely, we might be able to give you a more precise answer to that.
But thank you so much. You've had some fantastic questions through, so thank you to everybody who's taken the time to put them to us. If you are watching the webinar live, or if you are watching back and you've got any questions at all in regards to you know, one of our courses, please, as we said, just email us, just put in the subject the course of interest, and then we can make sure that the correct course advisor picks that up for you and comes back to you with all the information that you need. Again, our web page is a fantastic place of resource, loads of information with regards to usually what you'll study, and also, as we said, that all important documentation that you'll need to submit and entry requirements. But, you know, as I said, any questions, just contact us and we'll be able to help you with that.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely great. So that is kind of bringing our questions and answers to a close for today's session. And really, just to reiterate what Lisa said, thank you so much for taking the time today to join us. We hope you found this session useful, and the session has been recorded, so you'll be able to watch this back. And if you are watching it back as well, thank you so much for taking the time today to do so. So I think that kind of probably sums it up for today, Lisa.
Absolutely, yeah. Thanks everybody for watching. And as you said, any questions, please, as I said, just let us know.